Getting the duty assignment or the duty station that you really want isn't as simple as just trying to get it into your contract when you try to join active duty Army. There are a few ways that you can kind of get the duty assignment that you want or try to get the duty assignment that you want. That's what we'll be talking about in today's video, so fall in on me. What's up, my friends? Welcome to an all new video. So maybe you have a specific duty station that you really want. Maybe it's closer to home. Maybe it's just a duty assignment that you've heard a lot of great things about and you're trying to get that. So for the most part, a lot of times it goes based on MOS. So if there's a specific duty station that has some units that need this specific MOS, then people are going to get pulled from like AIT from that, MOS or OSIT or whatever to go to that unit. And that's basically how people get assigned to duty stations, is that if we have a specific infantry unit that's short on 11 Bravos and we have a bunch of 11 Bravos that are graduating from OSIT, well then maybe a lot of those 11 Bravos will end up going to that unit that happens to be at whatever location. Maybe it's Fort Hood, maybe it's Fort Carson, whatever the case might be. But if you want to have a little bit more control over it, then there's a few ways that you can kind of go about that and try to kind of hope for the best, I guess. The first way comes about early in your Army career. When you're at AIT or during OSIT, you have this option to fill out what's called a dream sheet, I believe they still call it, but it basically is what it is you fill out a list of different duty assignments that you're hoping to get, that you would like to get. Usually you pick maybe 2, 3, whatever of OCONUS ones and CONUS ones, so basically you're picking some that are in the United States and some that are outside the United States. And from your list, they will look at that. And if, let's say you happen to pick, let's say Fort Carson, right? Because that's where I was last stationed at, that's where I still currently work at as a civilian. And let's say you picked Fort Carson and your MOS is something that is needed at one of the units on Fort Carson, then you might have a good chance possibly of getting your first choice of Fort Carson. And that's how it works for a lot of those, assignments you pick on their dream sheet. If you pick some location that doesn't need your MOS, then yeah, you're probably not going to get that first choice. Maybe you get your second choice, maybe your third choice. Maybe you don't get any of those choices. That could be a possibility as well, and you just get stuck where they really need you. Let's say, just as an example, right? Maybe your top 3 choices were like Fort Carson, Fort Irwin, and Fort Huachuca. But your MOS was not needed at any of those locations, and they were really desperate for soldiers in your MOS at Fort Hood. Then you're going to Fort Hood. So the dream sheet is not a guarantee. It's just a, hey, if you could send me these ones and they need my MOS, send me these ones, rather than you just picking some random one that needs my MOS. So that would possibly be your first opportunity when you first get in the Army that you potentially could try to get the duty assignment that you want. Now, before we move on, this video is sponsored by Jumbo Privacy. In today's day and age, our online privacy is very important to us. And with Jumbo Privacy, which is available on both iOS and Android, you can take control of that privacy. I know me personally, I hate it when I'm like searching for something on the internet and then conveniently enough on Facebook or whoever, I get a bunch of ads for the next several days for that specific item that I was searching about. Jumbo Privacy can actually block social media websites from being able to do that. So it blocks them from being able to track your online activity, so that way they can't feed you those specific ads. It also has other features such as scanning the internet to see if your information maybe was involved in a data breach. You can even set it up to automatically delete your internet search history. There's some of you out there that might want it just for that reason. Now don't worry, the app will never store any of your sensitive data, and it also will never sell it. The app is actually free to get you started, but you can unlock some additional features by simply just paying what you feel is fair. So to get you started with a 7-day free trial, just visit the link down in the description box to see jumboprivacy.com/ChrisChaos. Check it out. Now let's move right along and let's talk about another way that you potentially could try to get the duty assignment that you want, and that is by contacting your branch manager. Each branch, which is basically like your MOS branch, has a specific individual or individuals that is considered your branch manager. For example, if your specific MOS maybe falls in the quartermaster kind of branch, well, they have a branch manager that you would contact, and you could kind of, talk to that individual and say, hey, I'm really interested in going to this location. Can we see if we can't make that happen? Now, this one is a lot harder to make happen, right? This isn't like a thing you just call them up and, oh yeah, sure, we'll make it happen. But I have heard cases of this being a case. It's not going to be something like you first duty assignment was, let's say, Fort Hood, and you hate Fort Hood and you don't want to get Fort Hood and you've only been there for a couple of months kind of a thing, and then you call up your branch manager to try to send you to somewhere else. Then in that case, you're probably not going to have much luck. But let's say you have been on a specific duty assignment for maybe a couple of years, maybe even a little over a year or whatever the case is, and you're trying to go somewhere else because you just don't like it there. In that case, a potential option is to contact that branch manager and say, hey, I'm currently stationed at this location, my name is this, I'm hoping to get this location, what do we have? that individual might be able to help you out, right? It just kind of depends on what options they have available to them, right? Maybe they're going to put you on a list, maybe they're going to do whatever, and they can kind of see if there is any openings for your MOS at that location. I know a couple of people that actually made this happen. They were stationed at Fort Riley at my first duty assignment with me, and they had been there for like 4 years, 3 years, something like that, and they really wanted to go overseas. And so they contacted the branch manager. They were able to make it happen. So a lot of times it just depends on the location you want. If it's something that's really like popular and they don't have any room for your MOS, then yeah, you're probably not going to get that choice. They're not going to probably allow you to move to that location, and they're going to probably tell you, I'm sorry, I can't do anything for you. But if the location you want is really in need of your MOS, then you might have a good shot at it. In this case, I think this individual was an 88 mic, and he wanted to go to Germany, and they happened to be pretty short on 88 mics in Germany at that time, so he was lucky enough to get Germany. Within a few months or whatever, he came up on orders, and he was getting ready to start PCS and to head off to Germany. Now, the more kind of solid way to try to change the duty assignments or get the duty assignment you want is to re-enlist for it. That does mean that you're gonna have to be in the Army for a while. So if you did a 4-year contract, typically when you have 1 year left on that contract, you're eligible to be able to re-enlist. And usually they have the option, if you want to go somewhere else, to try to request that. That's still not a guarantee. For example, the very first time I re-enlisted, I wanted to go to Fort Irwin because it was only 2 hours away from my hometown, so it was gonna be very easy to visit, like my family. So I was trying to re-enlist to get Fort Irwin. At that time, there was no slots for 88 mics at Fort Irwin, so I couldn't get it. I actually didn't even get my second choice. My second choice was gonna be Fort Huachuca. I wanted to get Fort Huachuca because I was like, okay, well then I can't get Fort Irwin. Let's try the next closest thing. That's Arizona. Let's get Fort Huachuca. At that time, I don't know if it's still the case, but Fort Huachuca only had 2 slots for 88 mics. And I don't know, but I'm guessing those 2 slots they have is probably for like the post commander and the post sergeant major. So the garrison commander and the garrison sergeant major are probably the only ones that have 88 mics, which are their personal drivers to be able to, drive them around on post, drive them around out to field problems and all that kind of stuff. That's my guess. I can't think of any other reason why you don't have 2 slots on that entire installation, but it was full. I couldn't get it. So then I went to my third choice, which was Fort Carson, Colorado. And I really only picked Fort Carson, Colorado because there was a lot of other soldiers that were stationed with me in Korea at this time when I was at that location that had brought up a lot of great kind of stories about how they loved being at Fort Carson. It was a great duty assignment. Plus my niece at the time was in the Air Force nearby. So I was like, all right, let's do Fort Carson. I was able to get Fort Carson. So re-enlisting for the duty assignment you want is probably a good option, but still not a guarantee. I even had to re-enlist to stay at a duty assignment. That sometimes is a thing you might have to do as well. In my case, my unit was moving to Fort Hood, Texas. I didn't want to go to Fort Hood. I actually didn't even have enough time in the Army left to go to Fort Hood with them. So they were telling me that, well, you also don't have enough time to stay on Fort Carson, so you're probably going to come up on orders to go back to Korea. So I had to re-enlist so I could stay on Fort Carson. I always heard bad stories about Fort Hood, so I didn't want to go to Fort Hood. I knew that, so I wanted to make sure that I was staying on Fort Carson. But there's also a lot of other duty assignments that people consider to be like the worst duty assignments. If you would like to see what duty assignments some people feel like are the worst duty assignments, well, check out this video. I got a video on it about some of the worst duty assignments in the Army. If you want to check out my latest upload, well, I got this guy right here. If you haven't seen that one, check it out. Links in the description for the sponsor, my social media, all sorts of stuff. You're awesome. I'm ChristopherChaos, and I'll see you next time. See ya.